All right, so hi guys. I had to break up my video into two parts because it was really long. And I just didn't want to put one long video in one clip. So I'm gonna break it up into two parts. I'm gonna post part one now, and then I'm gonna do my best to transition and cut part two to the way that fits. So I hope you guys enjoy my story, and thank you so much for tuning in. Mother cannot guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Ponies. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Victavia, but I go by Suncheon. My channel is beautifully hidden. It's a thing, I know. Follow with me, work with me. But today I am posting this video to talk about my experience traveling to South Korea. Now, before I get into all of the jazz of that, I want to point out some few bullet points so that you guys pretty much know what you're gonna get into watching this video. So the first thing is this: I am a Christian. I do believe in God. Now, I am not saying that because I don't want people to not watch this video or anything like that, but I think it's important to state who I am and where I originate from, so that way when I do reference God, you know, or talk about things from the Bible just pertaining to me, people will understand why I am doing it. So if that is something you are uncomfortable with, then I get it. Like, I understand, but I just want you to be aware that I am going to talk about the Lord on this channel because he's amazing. That's my guy. But two, this is not really like a, I guess, a happy-go-lucky video. It kind of talks on the downside of things. So, I mean, I have a lot of great things to say, but it's more so of a negative review of my team. So that's also something too that you might want to be mindful for if you continue to watch. There was the loudest truck outside, and if you heard that, I'm sorry, but those are my main points. Right now I am back home in the States. I'm not going to say, well, I'm from Texas. I will say that I live in Texas, but I'm not going to say specifically where. So let's get into this, guys. I don't even know how I want to start this. So let's journey back till about 10, 11, 12 years ago. I'm 26. So some time back, I was staying with my dad and I ran into a K-pop channel. Now, if you don't know what K-pop is Korean music pop. Like what we have here in America, just Koreans are doing it. And I mean, any other person can do it who lives in Korea with them. I don't know about how the rules and regulations work, but that's where K-pop originates from. It's from Korea. I fell head over heels for it. I started to want to know more about the culture, the people, the languages, you know, and so from there I got into the shows and watching, just like, you kind of know how you watch National Geographic here. Well, I was kind of doing that, but for like the views of Korea, and I just fell in love with South Korea. Like, let me rephrase. I fell in love with South Korea, not North Korea. Grandma, do you hear that? Not North Korea. Anyways, I fell in love with South Korea, and I was like, like, it would be amazing to go there and just view the culture, you know, the lives, the people, and everything like that. And so that's kind of what I set my heart on. Originally, I wanted to go study abroad, but that didn't happen because the school that I went to, the university, they said that the exchange rate would be off. So they had ended their contract with South Korea to do exchange students. And if they would have sent me, they would have sent one person out but got 3 people back, and they didn't feel like it was worth it. And then if I would have wanted to go through a third party, I would have had to pay like $3,000 out of pocket, and I just did not have that kind of money. So it carried on, really, because okay, so I went to college to be a music major. I love singing, I love writing, making music. That's just like my heart, you know. I can always sing a song and get through the day or anything like that and be set. Anyways, my teacher, my head of department, she told me about a Fulbright program because she was convinced I'd be a great teacher. And I knew that, well, after a while I realized I needed a job in order to pursue music because, you know, I got to make a studio, right? I need a studio, I need equipment, all that jazz. So I was like, well, sure, why not be a teacher? You know, I could get paid to teach. I love children. Like, it's a win-win situation, you know? And so she introduced me to this program called Fulbright. Now, what Fulbright is like a government funded program. You can do research or you can teach abroad, or, you know, whatever falls into those guidelines of that program, what they allow you to do, you can do it and the government will pay for it. Or like in the process of teaching ESL, I would have been allowed to stay with a host family. So I would have stayed with the family in Korea, taught, you know, and then came back when my year was up or whatever. Now, I made the final cut of that. I mean, I made the semi-final cut of it, but I did not make the final cut. And so it was so funny because this pastor told me, I went to go get prayed for in 2018, and he was telling me, you know, pretty much how he saw me in Korea teaching students and like making music to bless the nations. So I took that and ran with it, quite literally. But when it didn't happen for Fulbright, of course I was disappointed. I'm like, this must have been a false prophet. Like, ain't no way, you know, that it was just the way it lined up. I was convinced that I was led astray, and I became really bitter about the trip. Honestly, I had prayed and talked to God and asked God a lot of times to visit Korea, and it just seemed like every angle that I wanted it to happen, it didn't happen. And so I'm telling you, it was bad. Like, I would ride by airplanes with my brother going to work because I was with him and my grandma at the time, and I would be so sad, you know, seeing these planes fly over us and think like, I should have been up there, you know, like this was my big opportunity. And I remember my mom, she used to always tell me, and my dad too, he'd be like, well, one of my dads, he'd be like, well, you know, if you were meant to be up there, then you'd be up there, you know, like everything happens for a reason. God is just, you know. And honestly, growing up until now, you know, I've seen my mom go to church, and her relationship with God is always the main thing I go back to. That's what made me want to get closer to God. You know, I've had the dreams and the visions. I know he's called my name. Like, I know he's kept me through some things. So I couldn't understand why it was at the time that he did not give me Korea. And I can save all those stories for another day. So jump forward to here we are, case in point. About a year ago, or maybe like more close to 2 years now, me and my family, we relocated. Then, you know, a few months later, I was cooking in the kitchen, and I had like a vision or like a feeling, and it was so crazy to me because I was cooking, but it was like all around me, all I saw was like the city of Korea. Like, I didn't know exactly where I was, but I remember I kind of jumped out of it, and I was just like, because I wasn't watching anything on TV that would have made me, oh, okay. I wouldn't have watched anything on TV that night that I remembered that made me think about Korea. Like I said, I put it on the back burner. I didn't want to go anymore because it didn't happen for me. And even last year, I had applied to 2 programs, and on one of them, the lady told me, this is a sure thing. You got this. They're going to love you. They didn't love me. No. 3 days later, I got told, no, I couldn't go. And the second program, I really wanted to join, but it was a lot of money. So I was like, I need to wait till I can, you know, better get my finances together to try to plan like this big move, because I knew that there was going to be a lot of things pouring into moving. So that night, you know, I thought about it and I asked my mom. I was like, well, I'm having these feelings again. You know, what should I do about it? Because I am not one to really chase dreams. I'm gonna just say I don't really chase my dreams. Like, if something seems too hard for me that I want to pursue, oftentimes more than not, even if I love it, I'll give it up because it's too hard. Like, I feel like I can't do it, you know, I can't accomplish it. I was told no twice, so what's the point of me having a love for something that I obviously got denied twice for, you know? And my mom was like, well, why not just try one more time, you know? Maybe this time it'll be different. Like, you don't ever know. And so I prayed about it and I asked God, I said, well, if it is for me to apply to Korea, please send me a sign. So the next morning at about 6:38, I got an email from this place called Travel Bud. That is who I had wanted to apply for the year before, but I didn't have the money. And so the email header said, if you are looking for your sign to apply to teach abroad this next coming year, this is it. And I was just like, wow, oh my God, like, God, you're playing with me. You know, like, this is not happening. You know what I'm saying? And so I then went from there and I was like, well, Lord, I know I asked you for a sign, but if you would please show me another sign, that would be helpful. Like, let me know that I'm not tripping, that this is from you, because my father moves at his own pace always. So for that to be as quick as it was, I was like, wait a minute. And so, I reached out to the team. I talked to him about everything and stuff like that. And then I remember the first time I had a call with them, it was really kind of funny how my work schedule worked out, because I was a lead preschool 2 teacher. So, you know, I had breaks around 1 o'clock really, or like from 1:30 to 2:30 when the kids wake up. And so this particular day, the way that the schedule happened, I ended up being later to go to my lunch, and it just so happened that I had the right amount of time to go to my car, talk to this lady about, her name was Aubrey, talk to Aubrey about what I wanted, and then go back in, finish up eating, and then, you know, go to my class. And it was really quite tricky because the way the work culture is there is everybody sits together, eat lunch if you're on the same schedule. So when I left my food and went to the car, they were like, what were you doing? And I was minding my business, people. That's what I should have told them a lot of time. I was minding my business. Anyways, back to this story. So we talked, and at first I wanted to do like, so there was like 3 options that you could choose from. One was like an $800 option, one was like a $1,200 option, and then another one was like an $1,800 option. I'll have to go on the website and, you know, correct out the pricing and everything, but I do remember I chose the second most expensive option because I was like, well, I did Magic Kids back when COVID-19 first hit, like in 2020. I did Magic Ears online, VIP kid. So I had that certificate, and I was like, I don't really need another like 120 course because I've already did this one. So it didn't make sense to me at the time, you know, to go that route. And so I told them what I had decided or whatever. But then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, I've never been to a foreign place. I've never even flown. So of course, getting in front of those kids would be a whole lot different from standing in front of my kids. And I'm so glad God gave me wisdom on that, because I was convinced that it was the same role. And I'll get to that in a second. Pause. So that I ended up messaging them back and telling them like I would like to, you know, instead do the in-country Tesla course and go from there. And so we kickstarted this whole plan, right, to get me to Korea. Now, the prayer I told God after this, I was like, well, God, if you unlock the steps for Korea, then I'll go. That's my promise to you. You know, I'll go, because like I said, I felt like it was too good to be true. I was nervous, I was scared, and I just wanted to believe that this was from my father. And I just wanted to know without a shadow of a doubt this time around that it was through him that this process was, you know, being made possible. So the months carry on, you know, I'm sending off paperwork here and there, getting all that done. And occasionally from time to time, they reach out, rush me. And I remember at one particular time, I kind of got a little frustrated because after everything was said and done, my apostille, I had to get my degree apostilled, and I had to get a FBI background check done, and I also had to get that apostilled as well. So there was some hangups about that. Austin didn't want to give it to me, so I had to send it out through California to get it done. Now, when it got sent back to me, I sent it off to Travel Bud, and because it did not have a seal on it, they were like, well, ma'am, this doesn't have a seal on it. Like, we need you to call them and find out. And I remember thinking, I was a little upset because I'm like, well, it's not my problem that the seal is missing. And because the Monument Visa Service goes hand in hand with Travel Bud, Hands on Korea. Those are all the same people. And so, or the same team. So Hands on Korea is in Korea, but Travel Bud, if I'm not mistaken, is based here in the States. So I was working with both of them, and Monument Visa is the visa servicing that they use to like express visa ships and stuff like that. And I thought that it was a little weird that I had to reach out to them and see what the hang up was with my documents when they had such a great partner relationship, because if they're sending you the documents and you work close to them, I just feel like y'all could have had a better rapport than just me calling to see, because like I said, I couldn't do anything about that. But I called them, we got that situation fixed, and it was kind of one of those things, like I was getting things done and sent in the way they wanted it to. You know, I had to record my teaching video a lot of times because I was told like it wasn't simple enough. So I had to go back and simplify it more, which I get it, because well, I see now they truly, you know, teaching another language to a student is very hard for them to grasp it. And even if they think that they do know the language, it's still hard to put it into practice. So, you know, I did everything they asked of me. And when the time came, I was really nervous. I was really nervous, guys. I remember it was like August, and I was having a little bit of like, I guess, my doubts. I was having my doubts about it because other people's opinions, what other people thought I should be doing with my life, you know, what other people thought could come from this trip, other people's perceptions really fed into my mind, you know, and these weren't just any people. These were supposed to be people who were close to me. Like, these were people in my circle that I called friends and family. So I was packing up, and people would tell me things like, well, I would do this, or if I was you, I'd do that, or, you know, check into this or check into that. You know, it was just a bunch of negativity. And it wasn't like oh, hey, like, genuinely, I think that you should look into this because, man, you know, or not even like that, but like, I feel like you can tell when somebody's being genuine with you, because even that, sometimes people can be like, well, listen, I just really want you to be careful. But, or I guess I could explain it like this. If you're telling me to be careful about a choice that I'm making, but you turn around and make that exact same choice that I made and try to stamp an excuse on it, you're not helping my situation. And I had a lot of people who did that to me. It wasn't the, hey, this is my advice to you. It's a, hey, this is my advice, you shouldn't. But when I got to see for myself what they would do, 9 times out of 10, it was something I would have did or worse. So, you know, people's perceptions, you guys can't listen to what people say who are negative. When somebody positive is trying to tell you right, yes, take heed to that, you know, and listen to them with open ears. But I think you know helpful criticism and helpful comments versus like negative Nancy's. I'm not here for no negative Nancy anymore moving forward with my life, you know. So I had a bunch of friends who, and they're acquaintances now. They're no longer friends, you know, and even that is a loose term for them. But I had a lot of people say and think things about my trip to Korea. So once again, like, don't let anybody chastise you for what you like or for being different. I just want to put that here, and I will revisit that point again. But so the months came around, and you know, I started packing my suitcase, and my mom had to help me because I'd never packed a suitcase. Guys, I've never flown. I've never flown. This was my first flying trip. I've never been outside of home past like college, or, you know, I went to Colorado with my close friends like 2 years ago, or some years ago, 3, 4, something like that, some years ago. But the point is, I've never been away from home by myself. I've never lived anywhere by myself that wasn't with like family members, or even in college with my friends. Like I was always with people. So this was something really big for me because this was a dream I've always wanted in my life. You know, I've asked God for two main things, two main dreams, and the one I'm talking about now is the one that happened, and the other one you'll just have to wait and see. But this dream I asked God for because it was something I've always wanted. I would have literal dreams that I was going to Korea, and I remember I had two dreams. One where I got on this plane to go to Korea, but this bad storm happened, and we ended up in this land, and the waters were muddy. Like I'm talking about streams of water just like blasting through this village, and we had to get off the plane to get into like one of the shelters in my dream. And so when I had that dream, I was like, well, that doesn't really look like Korea. And you know, then I had a second dream where I was going to Korea, but like it was when I was getting on a plane that I woke up. I wasn't actually there. So this third time I had to dream about Korea, I think it was in August. I dreamed that I was walking in one place, and I literally walked over from like America straight into Korea. Like it was just easy. It was just, you know, and I realize now that it just wasn't my times, my seasons until now. And so I got my things packed, you know, and I don't really think that a lot of people in my family or even my friends expected me to go, because I'm very much a mama's girl. I am a mama's girl. That girl, she can do no wrong. I don't care what nobody talking about. You just better not be talking about my mama, unless it's something nice you want to say. But, you know, she's my best friend. She's my rock. So to the thought of like having to leave her and go away, it was scary because I'm always worried, like, you know, and I feel like the devil tries to play with us sometimes, you know, like, oh, what if she gets hit by a bus? Like, what if the house catches on fire? I'm the one going overseas, but you know, I'm thinking the worst about her here, and she's the safest here. And you know, it was just a lot of things that I was going through and feeling. And so around that time, I had started wanting to really work on my health too. I started drinking water more and just really buckling down and being serious about my health because I wanted to feel better. Like I felt bad that I couldn't play with my kids, you know, and stuff like that because I was bigger. So I've lost down a lot, but you know, it's still not where I want it to be. We still got some work to do. But you know, I was also trying to lose down because I knew over there one of the biggest stigmas, I guess, was about being a big girl in Korea. Most importantly, a big black girl in Korea, because I'm melanated, you know, look at the glow. I'm a beautiful black woman, you know, but there has been not a lot of positive light shown around being a big girl in South Korea. I mean, being a big girl in America is hard enough, but you know, you go over there with all of those smaller people and you are told to believe that like they are not as welcoming, which I don't know. I personally, okay, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna put a bookmark on that subject. And so back to packing, I packed everything, you know, got everything ready, and people just kind of started changing in my inner circle, you know, and I'll talk about that on another videos. But so I pack, I get ready to go. That morning, that night before, I was crying. I was bawling eyes out. I couldn't really sleep. I was anxious. I was excited, but I was sad. I was really sad to leave my mom. I couldn't even enjoy the like highs of traveling or experiencing the world because I kept thinking like, damn, I'm gonna really be away from my mom from like a year, you know. And though I was excited about it, it was like, what if she need me? Like, what if something go wrong? Once again, all these what ifs came out. Or like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't make it? You know, I was questioning myself, and I had asked God for this, you know, like this is my big moment. I had been waiting for this all these years, you know. So all these what ifs came into play, and I remember thinking, I had two friends. I had two close friends. And I'm not gonna name them. We're gonna give them nicknames. So I call one of them Pixie Dust, and I call the other one Sugar Cookie. And along with my mom and my dad, they were like the biggest positive influences. You know, my mom was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "No, but are you sure? It's just us here. Are you really sure?" And I'm like, yes. Okay, so, you know, but it was really my friends too, because they would, when I would tell them, you know, how anxious I was feeling, or if my parents had went to sleep and I got a little bit nervous, you know, even when I read my Bible, or, you know, like saying spirituals, and they would just be like, you got this. If anybody can do it, you can do it. Like, you've wanted this for so long, and you actually chased your dream. Like, you know, you're doing everything that you ever said you wanted to do. And I was like, you're right. So let's pause and let me jump back to a section, because I didn't talk about this before. So I ended up having to actually get everything. So I was supposed to leave for Korea in September of 2022. But because my documents were delayed and that process was so long, I chose to, they told me I could either do a visa run, or I'd have to go to Vietnam to get my visa and then fly back to Korea to do the class, or I could do it online, because if I didn't do it online, you know, in October, I would have to wait till like January and go through the steps of reapplying again. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not going to Vietnam, because I told y'all I've never flown. I'm not going to fly with people I don't know in another land that I don't know. I didn't plan, you know, Vietnam. That was not part of my itinerary, you know, and I knew that my family wouldn't be comfortable with it. But even when I told them about that, they were like, well, you could go with other people and maybe think about travel costs together. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to put another person in debt, you know. I don't want to have to owe anybody. I don't want to have to, how do you meet somebody and be like, hey, I don't really got it, but I see you got it, so let's go together, and then when I can get it, you can get it too. Because no, like, what happens if they see me, you know, eating when we get back to Seoul, and they're like, I thought she said she had no money, you know? So I was just like, we're not doing that. So, you know, like I say, I ended up doing about 2 weeks online, and even that, people are just people, but to Korea. So I got my things packed that morning. I left out, actually, let me go and get the dates for you.